Before you is the story of a woman who walked into a war zone with a lamp, a ledger, and absolutely zero patience for filth, and proceeded to invent modern nursing. But hold on. Before we get to the battlefields, let's set the scene, because where Florence Nightingale came from makes what she did almost unbelievable. Florence Nightingale was born in Florence, Italy, on May 12, 1820, and was named after her birthplace. Her parents were on their honeymoon when she arrived. Cute, right? Her affluent British family belonged to elite social circles. 2 houses, servants, the whole aristocratic package. In Victorian Britain, wealthy women like Florence weren't expected to work. Their job was to marry and look after the home. Basically, society had a very clear plan for Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale had other plans. But here's where it gets really interesting, because what she was rejecting wasn't exactly a glamorous alternative. Nurses in those days were typically poor, unskilled, and often associated with immoral behaviour. The hospitals they served held equally low reputations as unclean, disorderly, and infection-breeding. They were often regarded merely as places to die. So Florence's wealthy family wasn't being snobs for no reason. Nursing in the mid-1800s was genuinely considered a lowly, disreputable profession. And yet, raised in a liberal household, Florence Nightingale claimed to have had calls from God beginning at the age of 16, driving her toward alleviating people's pain through nursing. The woman heard a divine calling and said, "Fine, I'll drag this entire profession into respectability myself. No big deal." Despite the intense anger and distress of her mother and sister, she rebelled against the expected role for a woman of her status to become a wife and mother. And she didn't just rebel quietly. Florence went against her parents' wishes, refused a prospective marriage, and in 1851 trained as a nurse in Kaiserswerth, Germany. She turned down a husband. She crossed Europe. She showed up to learn. That's a woman on a mission. Now, if you thought defying your Victorian family was bold, wait until you see what she walked into next. The Crimean War from 1854 to 1856 was a terrible war by any reasonable criteria. News reached home of soldiers dying from battle wounds, cold, hunger, and sickness, with no real medical care or nurses to treat them. Responding to unpopular newspaper reports of the horrendous situation in the English war camp hospitals, the Secretary of War, a personal friend of Nightingale, consented to let her organise and manage a group of female nurses to go to Turkey. Nightingale led an officially sanctioned party of 38 women, departing October 21, 1854, and arriving in Scutari at the Barrack Hospital on November 5th. Not welcomed by the medical officers, Nightingale found conditions filthy, supplies inadequate, staff uncooperative, and overcrowding severe. The hospital was overcrowded and filthy, with blocked drains, broken toilets, and rats running everywhere. Nightingale herself called it the kingdom of hell. And she was not wrong. Here's a number that should make you put down whatever you're eating. The hospital mortality rate stood at around 42%. Nearly half of the patients admitted were dying, not from bullets. The vast majority of Crimean war deaths were due to preventable diseases: cholera, typhus, dysentery, things that spread in filth, and the hospital was drowning in filth. So what did Florence do? She cleaned it. Methodically, relentlessly. Under Florence's leadership, the nurses brought cleanliness, sanitation, nutritious food, and comfort to the patients. She frequently worked 20-hour days and took charge of every aspect of the hospital where the comfort of the soldiers could be improved. Nightingale was known for providing the kind of personal care, like writing letters home for soldiers, that comforted them and improved their psychological health. She wasn't just cleaning bodies, she was healing minds too. And the soldiers noticed. They gave her a name that history would never forget. It was the soldiers in Crimea that initially named her the Lady with the Lamp because of the reassuring sight of her carrying a lamp to check on the sick and wounded during the night. Picture it, a dark, overcrowded ward, men in pain, far from home. And then, a soft light moving through the darkness, steadily, night after night. That image became iconic. The poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow even wrote a poem about Nightingale being the lady with the lamp. She became a symbol before the war was even over. But here's the thing most people miss, and this is the part that separates Florence Nightingale from every other compassionate person who ever walked a hospital ward. She had the data to prove it. Many are unaware that she was also a brilliant statistician. She systematically gathered data on fatalities, causes of death, and sanitation conditions, then turned that data into stunning visual charts that she presented directly to Parliament. Her famous rose diagram proved that most soldiers were dying from preventable disease, not battle wounds. It forced policy change. It saved lives. Florence Nightingale didn't just nurse the sick, she used numbers to change the system itself. And that, more than the lamp, more than the legend, is why her name still matters today. Causes of death and sanitation conditions, then turn that data into stunning visual charts that she presented directly to Parliament. Her famous rose diagram proved that most soldiers were dying from preventable disease, not battle wounds. It forced policy change, it saved lives. Florence Nightingale didn't just nurse the sick, she used numbers to change the system itself. And that, more than the lamp, more than the legend, is why her name still matters today.